And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, Darren back with you here at Cross Timbers Farm. Welcome to 8th Day Chronicles. Glad to have you with us on this beautiful February day. Unusually warm for February. We're almost 60 degrees today, and wow, what a beautiful day to be out on the farm. Recently came to my absent-minded attention that sometime back we done a couple of videos on a home soil testing kit called the Lee Soil Master Soil Testing Kit. Right here. Okay. We done a soil test with this, and then we also sent soil samples to our state university extension office lab. Other videos, when we done these soil tests, we said that we would do the lab test in comparison to this and let you know the results, and that's what we're here for today. The Lee Soil Master Soil Testing Kit. 40 tests in this one pack. 10 tests each for pH, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. It says accurate and easy. We said we would let you know if this is viable. We paid about 18 bucks for this test kit, and we put it to the test. We put it to the test versus a laboratory testing soil test. The soil reports we receive from North Carolina Extension agencies, the lab, is quite complicated. I'm a layman, a farmer, and to read some of the stuff in this report and understand it, you have to have a degree, I think, in soil biology. They don't put these things in very layman terms, and to me, very technical, and sometimes quite hard to understand. I really wish that they would simplify this into layman's terms. But anyway, you can understand it if you just take your time and break it down and have some reference material to understand it too. But we do know our results from the lab. We know our results from the Lee Soil Test Kit. So what were they? How did they compare? The Lee Soil Master Soil Testing Kit. Testing for pH level of your soil was very easy. One tablet to mix in with your soil sample. Shake and let stand and compare the color to the color chart. And here, I don't know if you can see that, there's the color chart. Okay. That was quite simple. The test for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium was a little more difficult. You had to take a tablet, mix it in to water, let that tablet dissolve, then put your soil in another container, pour that into it, mix your soil, then put another tablet in to get your final results. Not a big deal, but more steps. To read your results on this Lee test, you have to go by this color chart. Okay, that's open to some interpretation. You're looking for a pH level of 6.0, and it's supposed to be this golden color, and you get a high yellow, kind of an off gold, or maybe a little darker. That's where it's left open to interpretation. You're to that match it to that color. Whereas if you end up with a little bit of lighter yellow color, you could say, well, that's a 5 or a 5.5. You could even interpret this as maybe as a 6, depending on the lighting where you're looking at it. I wish they had something to gauge this by better than just a color chart. The Mosser Lee soil test kit we did for pH. Our reading in the test plot was, I wrote down and compared it to the color. I listed our pH level as a high 5 to a low 6, somewhere between 5.5 and 6. The reclaimed field I listed as a 6, comparing it to the color chart. Our lab results came back as our test plot of 5.5 and our reclaimed hayfield as a 5.5. They came back just the same. And we found that to be true on our farm. Our soil here is very consistent from one place to the next. Usually if we get a soil report from one area, the next area is pretty much right in line. So they both listed a 5.5 from the lab. And again, our Mosser Lee listed a high 5 to a low 6. Pretty good. I'm satisfied with that. I will use these for pH. I can have results almost immediately. Very happy with that. Here on our farm, it seems that once we get our pH level corrected up to the proper level, that all the other nutrients in our soil, from calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, seem to fall in line. Now, are we just that lucky? It could be. I'm no soil biologist. But once we get our pH level right, that pH level seems to correct a whole lot of other things. And so, checking for pH level here on our farm is priority number 1. I have found that out over the years. We've already applied our lime for this year, and lime is not a quick fix, especially if you're using pelletized lime like we are. That lime has to have time to work its way into the soil, to dissolve and get down into the soil to become effective. That's why we lime midwinter, to give that lime several months to work its way into our soil well before the growing season. So we've already limed and hopefully brought our pH level up. We'll check our pH level again with the Mosser Lee test about late May. We'll see how it's going, if we still need to add more. But we'll check it again. And with this Mosser Lee test, we can check it on the spot. I can take a soil sample and go into our shop and have results within 15-20 minutes. Whereas, send it to the lab, you may be waiting for 2 months. The pH portion of this kit, I'm happy with. It works well, or it did for me. Mosser Lee test kit for our nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. We're a little back and forth in comparison to the lab test results. The nitrogen showed slightly low, which we're hoping to fix that with some fertilizer. And the phosphorus showed a little bit low on this, but it showed a little bit high on the lab test. Potassium showed a little bit high on this, and the lab potassium showed slightly lower than that. So overall, the test where you have to mix multiple steps did not seem quite as accurate as the pH test. The pH test I'm very happy with. The nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium tests, not quite as happy with as I was the pH test. But like I said, it seems like when we get our pH level right, a lot of these other nutrients in our soil seem to come around without any amendments. Usually is not a problem. We usually have acceptable levels of that, but what we have problem with is nitrogen and pH, getting the pH right. And it seems like once we get the pH right and get some red clover going, established very well in our pastures, our nitrogen comes way up, and everything else levels out to a very acceptable level once our pH level gets to the right level. And coincidence for our farm, it could be. I don't know. Like I said, I'm no soil biologist. When our pH level drops, other things start going wacky. You know, it's kind of like someone with heart problems. Once your heart starts giving you problems, a lot of other things will start giving you problems. You'll start with all sorts of other health problems as a result of that. But once you get that heartbeat just right, and we're going to compare that to the pH level, everything else seems to kind of level out, and that's what I found here on our farm. We strive for a correct pH level. Our pH level was at a 5.5. We're going to strive to get that very close to 7. We've already taken the appropriate steps to try to accomplish that, and we're going to keep an eye on it. So, is this worth buying? For our farm, I'd say yes. Is this for pH level I'm happy with. I can have results in 30 minutes. And I don't have to break out an encyclopedia and agriculture textbooks to understand some of these results. We do get a secondary notes about nutrients and micronutrients in our soil report. That stuff you're not going to get with this, which does break down some of that into more layman's terms. Some good parts of this report, and then some parts that you almost need a PhD in soil sciences to be able to understand some of this. I'm quite happy with this little test, and I'm going to continue to use it for soil pH. The Mosser Lee soil test kit, not real extremely happy about the test for the other nutrients, the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. However, the test for pH, I was quite happy with. The results we got from this test kit with nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium were kind of like this with our, in comparison to our soil report from the lab. Going by this color chart, it leaves too much up to interpretation. Too many variables. I know there was extra steps for those other tests, which leaves room for mistakes. The pH level test was pretty direct, to the point, pretty hard to mess up, and I was pretty happy with it. So I will probably buy another one of these kits when our pH tests run out, if for nothing else other than to check pH levels of our soil. Because like I said earlier, when our pH level gets to the right point in our soil here on our farm, it seems like everything else kind of comes in line. The test for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium was a little more lengthy and opened the door to a mistake could be made. Something could contaminate it. The pH test was not that way. It was simpler, a lot more direct to the point, easier to use, hence less chance of a false reading. Would we recommend the Moser Lee Soil Master Home Soil Testing Kit? Probably, especially if your main concern is your pH level in your soil. So thanks for being with us here today on the farm. We really appreciate it. Apologies again for the delay in coming back with the results of this. Had a lot of things going on. It took priority over this, but finally got around to it. If for no other reason, we'll be keeping these around just to check our pH levels. So thanks for being with us today here on the farm. I really appreciate it, and I pray that God blesses you and your family, and I pray that y'all have a fantastic day.